of Japan.
Well, we're joined now by Tom Brokaw, who's been following the production of Unbroken for the past year for an NBC special that's airing tonight. And he joins us along with director Angelina Jolie and two of the movie's stars who you just saw, Jack O'Connell, who plays Louis Zamperini, and Miyavi, who portrays the Japanese prison camp sergeant who lords over Zamperini in captivity and who I might add is incredibly frightening. Good morning to all of you. It's good to have you here.
Good morning.
I know Tom and Angelina, I know you guys are like besties at this point because you've done a documentary together. Is that a fair assessment?
Well, we've been spending so much time. I actually thought that I would show up on one of those Hollywood entertainment shows as who's the other man in her life. And it turns out I did. It was Mario the other night said there's the biggest star in Hollywood, Angelina Jolie, with a man who appears to be her grandfather. So that's the best I can do at this point. The film opens. You've devoted so much of your life to it. What's the most important aspect of that for you? The film, Universal Pictures, or preserving the memory of Louis Zamperini?
Of course, the memory of Louis Zamperini. He was he's a great man, a true hero, and inspiration. He's also our friend. And we are fortunate to be in a position to bring his message to the world and his story to the world, but it is his legacy, and it's our responsibility to get it right because he deserves it. So we're a little nervous, but we're excited for more people to know of his story.
And as I understand it, you had an opportunity to show him a cut of the film before he passed away. What was that like, that moment?
I was in the editing room and I found out he'd gone into the hospital. And to be clear, Louis, because it would be important for him, for everybody to know, he was 97, living alone, was sharp, funny, and went out on his feet. And he went into the hospital, and I put the film on my laptop and I brought it to him and I held it over him, and had the great honor of watching this extraordinary mountain of a man watch his life and relive the events in his life and remember his family, and it was a very profound and very moving moment. And then he said something silly and funny, and I left the hospital room and realizing that he took care of me and made me feel okay about his passing. So that's who Louis was.
And by the way, Lauren Hillenbrand, the author who rarely gives an interview about her work, who wrote the original book, Unbroken, that inspired you to make this, said the same thing. She saw the film and she loved it. So, I mean, those are two pretty good testimonials. There used to be a saying in Hollywood, if you want to send a message, call Western Union. Now I guess the message would be, if you want to send a message, get an email. But you do want to send a message with this film about values and about a different time in our lives.
We are losing these men and women today. We're losing them, and what they meant to us and what they taught us and how they held themselves and their commitment to their community, their family, their faith. It's extraordinary. It was the greatest generation, and so I think not only to pay respect to them, but to before they're gone, learn everything we can from them. It's also a message that's relatable today to everybody, which is the strength of the human spirit and how to overcome obstacles. And we feel that that's a beautiful message to bring to everybody on Christmas time.
And I want to bring in your stars here. Jack, you played Louis Zamperini. I understand you got a chance actually to meet him. What did he tell you about playing himself?
The words he gave me were "be hardy." He signed my book with that advice, "be hardy." Still not that sure what it means. But it helped me carry something anyway through the shoot, and I remember I had the opportunity to shake his hand, look at him and say, "Louis, you're in good hands with me," which was perhaps a little bit naive of me to say that at the beginning of the shoot. But he said he knew. He looked at me and he said he knew.
Are you worried about how you're going to be treated in Japan after being played on the big screen in such a sinister role? Are you concerned about Japan's reaction to all of this and your own career as a musician?
I was scared. I was hesitant to tackle this role as a Japanese. But when I met Angie, she said that she wanted to create something meaningful, which could be a bridge between America and Japan. This is all about his message, forgiveness, and then how strong a human being can be. So I'm now confident everyone who's suffering can learn and receive his message.
And Angelina, you've been an actress for many, many years, but directing, is it satisfying a part of you from a career perspective that you maybe didn't even know you had?
Directing for me, I didn't plan on becoming a director, and and I didn't plan on switching careers. I just found stories that I care about, and I wanted to tell them, and the best way to tell them was to try to shepherd them from beginning to end and tell them as a director. And so the focus, I've never thought a career, I've just thought I get to walk in this man's footsteps, I get to tell the story, I get to shine a light on these actors, and so it's just been a great creative experience, and Unbroken has been the hardest creative experience of my life.
Queen Elizabeth just had an audience, named her a dame, and put her in the court effectively. She's now newly married. Tell Savannah what you said to Brad after you got married and wanted to do the wifely thing.
I did mention that now that I'm officially a wife, I mentioned to Brad I was going to try to learn to cook properly.
Start slow.
He said, don't bother, because he's tasted my cooking. Yes.
Story Unbroken. It's a beautiful telling of an amazing life. Thank you so much. Pleasure having you here.
Thank you.
Unbroken, by the way, opens on Christmas Day. And Tom, you're going to have a lot more with these guys as you follow Louis Zamperini's remarkable story and the telling of it in an NBC special, which airs tonight, 10, 9 Central.